What's up, Roulette Fools? Brent with AOB. Okay, we're back with Easy Rider Part 2 because it was made very... I was let known by a whole bunch of people that I screwed up the progressions on this. So I am here to make good because we've had a lot of interest in this strategy. So let's get right started and I'll explain as we go. It starts with 1 unit on high. Now, this is how the author has it. And this is how Clever Bets right now, the automated betting tool, this is how they have it set up. We've asked for some changes and I'll explain those changes a little later. You start out with 1 unit on high. Okay. If you lose, you're going to add 2 units on high. If you lose, you're going to add 3 units on high. Okay. And I'll bring up that betting progression here shortly in just a second, once we see what happens here. All right, there's a win. So we're starting out with a win. Obviously, we're in session profit. We're just going to rebet. Okay, so let's go through the progression charts. If you look right below me here, on the first bet, you're going to place 1 unit on high. If you lose, you place 2 units on high. If you lose that, you place 3 units on high. Okay, 1, 2, 3, easy peasy. Not martingaling, just 1 unit, 2 unit. We're going to ladder it up. We're going to stack it. If you lose that third progression, you're going to keep 3 units on high, and you're going to place 1 unit on each of 2 corners in that third dozen. Okay, and I'll show you those corners here in just a second. And if we keep winning, I'm just going to go through the progression chart again. So now we'll have 3 units on high, and we'll have 1 unit on the 31-35 corner and on the 32-36 corner, okay? If we lose that, we're going to add 2 more units to high, so we'll have a total of 5 units, and we're going to add an additional 2 corners, still all at 1 unit on the corners. If we lose that one, we're going to add another 2 units to high. Now we have 7 units on high, and we are going to add another 2 corners, all still with 1 unit. So what we'll end up on that final is a total of, right, we started out with 3 with 2 corners, then we went 5, then we went 7. So we ended up with 7 units on high plus 6 units, 1 unit on 6 corners. All right. So we end up with a max. At that point, you're at 13 units out. From that point on, consider that your base bet now. If you get to that point, from that point on, you're going to, every time you lose, you're going to add 1 base bet unit. Remember, base bet being a high plus the 6 corners. Okay. So every time you lose, you're going to add 1 base bet. The advantage to that is it slows your progression amounts down. You can go through a tremendous number of progressions on this thing. And I'm going to bring up the progression chart to show you what your cumulative loss would be if you lost all in a row, which is not, I mean, come on, that's not going to happen, especially with the number we're talking about. So this is worst case scenario when I show you the progression chart. I have run this thing on Clever Bets for over 24 hours. Okay, 24 hours. And at that time, I was using 50-cent units. And I got up to a max of, I believe, $1,200. And then the internet or something froze. And so it stopped at the basically almost right at 24 hours. It stopped. Okay. So this thing can really, really recover fairly well. But sometimes it can be a grind. And no joke. I mean, I've gone to the low 30s progressions. Brad has gone to 85 progressions. And the amazing thing is they all recovered. Okay. If you have your progressions are life. So let's take a look at the progression chart while she is spinning again. I'm going to take that off, and you can find this on our Discord server, and it'll soon be on our website, allonblack.net. So basically you enter in your unit size. In this case, we're playing 10-cent units. This is your cumulative total loss if you lose at that progression level. Okay. And we are just crushing the highs right now. And that's okay. So obviously that's okay. Okay. So this is cumulative loss if you lose them all in a row. So this to me is what's called your worst case scenario, right? So, and this is how I budget my progressions. So you can see here with a 10-cent unit, here's our total loss. I mean, relative to what we're doing here, look at it's at 53 progressions, it's a $1,500 bet. Think about that when you go to a 1-to-1 bet and you're martingaling or 5 double streets. There's no way you're going out there, okay, to that number of progressions. So this relative to the number of progressions, we lost. So we're going to add 2 units to high, and that's our second progression. Okay, now, personally, I don't recommend, I think even 50 is a little on the lean side. I personally recommend you try to get at least 60 of these progressions. Now, to be clear, you're not going to lose all these in a row. So what's going to happen is, right, you're going to win, and you might lose, and then win, lose. Anyway, even if you get on a losing streak, you're going to have some wins in there. So your cumulative loss will not be this amount. So for me, in my book, if I plan for the worst case scenario and I know, now we're going to add 3 units to high. If I plan for the worst case scenario and I know that it's not going to be around this much at all, that means I have extra progressions, extra life, right? So I like to plan for at least 60 to 70 progressions here. You know, I mean, especially if you're going to let this thing ride on an auto tool, clever bets, where you're going to leave it and let it go. If you do that, only put the bankroll, as always, only gamble with what you can afford to lose. So put in there, decide how many you want to go. Okay, we just lost the third progression. So we're going to leave the unit at third. We're going to put 1 unit on each of these 2 corners. We have a total of 5 units. Okay, so I 100% believe in being overly cautious with these things, giving yourself plenty of progressions. And the other way you can do it is, if you only have $100 or $200 or $300, put that in there and see how many progressions you have out of that. Maybe that's all you have, and with 10 cents, but you can go to ARS, which is another denomination. All right, so we won, but it didn't hit one of our corners, so our profit isn't. So you just rebet. We didn't lose, but we're not in session profit yet. So we're just going to rebet. So if you have that, if you don't know what ARS is, on most casinos, you can go, and I know on Raised here, you can go to the bottom right corner of your screen. You can't see it because I'm cropped. And there is a little drop down. And right now mine says USD, US dollars. You can drop that down and go into what's called one of the currencies for another country, ARS, right? That there we go. There's a hit with the corner. Look at this. But it was a first dozen or first column corner. Had we hit on the second dozen right here, if we hit 32 or 35, it would have been an even bigger win. But we hit here. So let's kind of pay attention, because if we were playing streets instead of corner, this would be an even better profit right now, right? Pros and cons, and it just depends on your session. You're going to get lucky one way or another. I feel like if you played them both, at the end of the day, after end of 100 sessions, you're going to see they're going to kind of come out even in the wash, right? That's just my feeling. All right, so we're still winning here. So make sure you have the appropriate progressions if you're going to leave this. Now, if you're going to play this manually, as I explained last time, there's no big deal placing these bets, okay? Once I get to, let's find it. Once I get over here to, here's Easy Rider 4, 5, and 6. So once I get to 4, 5, and 6, I just hit 4, then 5, then 6. And the reason why you want, remember, 6 is your new base bet if you get that far. That's 6 corners and, right, and 7 units bet out there. And every time you lose after that, you're going to just add one of those entire base bets. So it's really important that you save that last one so that you don't have to sit there and try to keep adding the number of chips to this every time. You can just literally repeat the bet, click your favorite there, Easy Rider 6, and it's going to add one whole base unit up. Okay. This is probably the best strategy, one of the best strategies for clever bets. Not the best, but one of. Anything that utilizes a lot of the outside 1-to-1 bets is great for the clever bets on the French roulette table. Why am I not playing French roulette right now? Because the French roulette has a min bet on Raised at $1. I'm trying to get them to change that down to 10 cents. And they are increasing our limits there at some point. So I'm playing here on the pragmatic tables because they have a 10-cent table here. I could go over and look for a 10-cent table on Evolution, like Roulette de Espagnol. I'm not sure we have that set up yet for Raised Casino, but it is set up elsewhere. All right, there's a loss again. So we're going to add our third and final unit to this one for these first three progressions, right? Remember, 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit. You can see it below. All right. So just make sure you have your progressions, know what those progressions are, save this here. The nice thing about clever bets is this thing could go down. This thing will, but it will fight up, right? Trust the process, trust your bankrolls. And these are one of those things that you don't want to be around to see how it goes, because you're like, how can that be possible? And if you play anything long enough, all right, so now that we got those, we're going to repeat the bet. We got the 3 units there. We don't add any more there. We had 1 corner, 2 corners. You play long enough, you're going to see bet result histories that you thought can't be possible. 20 lows in a row, 15 reds in a row, or black, or even, or odds. If you stay here long enough, it will happen. Within a reasonable amount. All right, there's our banger. We just hit our second column. You can see that is a banger number. Boom. And the advantage of the second column one is if you get way down, you hit a couple of those second columns and you're up like this, versus I got stuck hitting the first and the third columns when I was way down. So it took a lot longer. If in that particular instance, again, if I had been playing streets instead of corners, the first and the third column would have been paying better. My recovery could have been better. It's tough to say. I don't exactly remember how it was going. All right, we're still winning. If we keep winning here, I'm going to go through the progressions anyway. We are at $2.80 profit, and we've been going for about 12 minutes. What I found, I have run this on Clever Bets on 10-cent units. I'm averaging about $6 profit per hour. Okay, $6. On 50 cents, I was averaging somewhere between 50 and 55 to 60, depending on the time. I was averaging $50 to $60 per hour. Now, if you're going to run 50 cents, your progressions, your bankroll needs to be considerably bigger. I wouldn't do it with less than, say, I felt I was even doing a little risky at $7,000. Let me take you back to that just so you can see this again. Okay, here we go. Let's change it over. And you just come in here, you throw 50 cents there. And you can go down here. And again, this is very conservative because you're not going to lose all in a row. You can see at $7,000, that gives me 51 progressions. Okay. Now, for me, 50 progressions is my minimum. And the very fact that I've gone to low 30s already, and we got 2 units on high now, and Brad has gone to 80 plus units once, means it can happen. And I would rather be safe than sorry in this case, because if you don't plan appropriately and conservatively enough, you're going to end up wiping out your entire bankroll, or your playable bankroll at that point. Okay. So just be aware, please be conservative. I know that you won't lose all these in a row, but if you plan that you will, that means you have more progressions than this is showing. And I think 50 overall is pretty safe, but I really like 70. And I think the fact that you're not going to lose all of them in a row, 50 progressions, I really feel like you'll have at least 60. Okay, you'll have at least 60 progressions because you're not going to lose them all in a row. All right, what we're going to do now is, regardless of win or lose, we're going to walk through the progressions so you can see it all the way through one time. All right. And then when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and launch Clever Bets just so you can see the interface. Caveat: Clever Bets right now for Raise Casino is in beta mode. We're beta testing. Okay, so far it's run pretty solid, but there are a couple things because the chip placements, there's just some fine differences between the casinos as far as chip denominations that they have to make adjustments for. Okay, so we lost that one. And regardless of win or lose, we're going to go through. So now we have 2 progressions. Okay. So I sincerely apologize for getting the progressions wrong on the last one. I hope that didn't screw anybody up. I sincerely apologize. I will do better in making sure that I am doing. My problem is I start doing too many things at once. I'm talking motor mouth, and then I get even on my live stream, I put the wrong bets all the time. When I play on my own, I don't have that problem. Okay. Fortunately, we're getting another loss. Fortunately, sorta. I guess it'd be better if there were wins, but this looks more realistic than if we're losing. All right, we are at 3 units, and this is the final progression that we do just the highs or the lows, okay? So I'm going to pull up the sheet again so that you can see it as we walk through. You'll be able to look below me and you can see that chart of where you're supposed to go. And then if you need to, you can go back. But like I said, get in our Discord. The progression chart is right there, available, free, nothing. We don't charge for our tools. All right, here you go. 3 units. We leave it at 3 units and we're adding 2 corners. Now, we've seen some wicked runs of low, runs that I'm like, are you kidding me? So what we've requested at some point is that they offer in Clever Bets, sort of like you can do on our AOB 9 Street strategy in Clever Bets, where you can choose follow the winner. And you can choose how many you want to lose before you follow the winner. When I play 9 Streets, I play follow the winner, and I've done this before. You guys have seen me play this with Centipede 1, and on 2 losses, it flips to the opposite end. So initially, I have the last 3 streets showing empty for wax. If I get 2 losses in a row, it flips, and the first 3 streets become empty. If I get 2 losses there, it goes back. I would like to see something like this where you can choose, yes, I want to play follow the winner, and B, you can either say follow the winner every single loss you flip to low and high, or you can say after a certain number of losses, switch. In this case, because we have so many progressions, now I got 3 units. I'm adding 2 units here for a total of 5. And I'm adding another 2 corners. We are keeping these at 1 unit. Okay, we don't increase those. For this, because we have so many progressions, you have a lot of cushion here. I think I would set my follow the winner at 3 or 4, right? Because to me, that protects against, and again, it doesn't matter. Statistically, it's all the same. The wheel has no memory. But in my head, it protects against those ping pongs where you switch here, switch there, and it hits the other way. And it's just going back and forth. All right, this is a good exercise here for us. Okay, we bring back our bet. We had 2 more units to a high. So now we have 7. And we're going to put our final 2 corners out here for a total of 13 units. Okay. Anyway, we'll give you updates on this, and I'm going to launch Clever Bets here real quickly after we recover. We're already at 18 minutes, so I want to be cognitive of the time and keep these relatively short, especially since this is a second time through. We've had a lot of interest on this. All right, from this point on, we're considering this right here be our base bet now. And okay, so once we lose there, on this one, we can martingale because that's literally just adding 1 more base bet. This is where it's going to be really good to have over here. You see, I have Easy Rider 6 saved. So if we lose this one, I can rebet and just click over here. And I have 1 more whole base bet done like that. Okay. So this is good because I told you in the last video, when you're doing a ladder or stacking, it can generally, those kind of strategies, the recovery can be very difficult. All right, we're going to repeat, and then I'm going to click here to add 1 base bet here. So now we have 3 units on each of these corners. Usually when you do a ladder or stack system, whatever you want to call it, where you're adding 1 base bet for every losses, and some people do 2 up, 1 down. Some people do 1 up on loss, 1 down on wins, however you do it. Generally, the disadvantage of those, right, is the recoveries can be slower and painful. All right, at least that's a win, and we hit a first column, so the win isn't as big. If we had been playing this with streets instead of corners, in this case, our profit would have been almost probably close to getting back to recovery right here. Okay, so pros and cons. So we're just going to repeat the bet, and we keep this bet here until you're in session profit. Now on the Clever Bets tool, it keeps that bet, no matter how many progressions you lost, it keeps it at that highest level until you recover. There's another, see, so this is a prime example. We've hit 2 first column units here, and we're going to go back one more time. We hit 2 first column on the 34, right? And the 19. Had we been playing streets, these would have paid much better, okay, than what we got out of here. But you don't get the banger numbers, which are also kind of exciting. And if you get way down in the weeds, this could be your saver if you can manage to get it hit on these 6 numbers. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do next is we're at 330. We're at 330 with 20 minutes in. If we were to multiply that by 3 to get us 1 hour, we would, in this instance, we would be averaging $9 an hour, but we've been doing pretty well with the wins. I wouldn't get used to this. Okay, fools, I made a mistake. I launched Clever Bets towards the end of that video, so you could see Clever Bets going. Unfortunately, because that requires full screen, I did not adjust my scenes in OBS so that you could see the full screen. Anyway, the cropping was all out. You couldn't see anything, so I had to delete that. I will be doing this strategy again, maybe in 2-3 weeks, and I will show it on Clever Bets as well because it's really, really good with Clever Bets. Doesn't mess up your bets. You can leave it. Anyway, and I've had very good success on it. Today, I ran it for about 4 hours, made about $70 an hour with a 50-cent starting bet. So not bad at all. But I will get that Clever Bets and we will revisit this again because remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sessions do not make or break a strategy. You need to keep going. And I think everybody's going to be really interested in this and wanting to see this a few times over just so they can see, can this thing consistently win? All right, that's it. Be good humans. I'll see you guys next time. Hit us up on our live streams. Our affiliates are getting free money every single live stream. Jump in there. Don't miss out. Cheers.